some points on how you could raise your standards. If they connect with you, I want you to write them down. Talking yourself out before you've actually walked in.
That's not raising your standards.
How often do you do that? So whether you want to take it as talking yourself out of something before you actually walk in can be seen in different ways. He saw it as a fight. I'm going to stop myself before I actually walk in. How many times have you stopped yourself from getting into a great business opportunity because you were limiting yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Aha. So if you feel like you connect with that point, whether it comes from one side or the other, how often did you get paralyzed by fear before you actually walked through the door? How often does that happen to you? Move on to point number 2. Emotional development. Choosing your emotions instead of being brought somewhere you are not proud to be. Choosing your emotions instead of being brought somewhere you don't want to be. So how often does that happen to you? Do you think that you could raise your standards by choosing your emotions instead of just reactive to the emotions you feel by the thoughts of empowerment and disempowerment? Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys see how all this is tying together now? So now I'm talking about your emotional development. Your emotional development. If you connect with that, please write it down. Emotional development. Where do you need the development in your emotional life to be able to raise your standard? To be able to raise your standard. I'll give you an example. I know a lot of people that right away, if something bad happens or they hear something on the news, they'll get sad right away. Two different things now. The person who's super sad about everything going on, why do they put themselves in that emotional state?
They relate.
They relate. What else?
They relate.
I think maybe they get attention that way.
Yes, they get attention. What else? Guys, please online, if you want to write, I will be reading. Why else would somebody be saddened by everything in the world? Right? This person who feels this immense amount of sadness, is this a position that is a good emotion? Is it a disempowering or empowering position?
Disempowering.
Disempowering position. So again, do you often put yourself in emotional states that disempower you? When you get a disempowering feeling, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Do you take it and you spread it like Nutella on the rest of your life? I'm going to move on to point number 3. So I'm gonna say this exactly how I wrote it because I laughed when I wrote it. So choosing to see your achievements, you see your achievements, choosing to spit on them, and then say you're not good enough. Or even comparing yourself with other people's achievements and saying, you know what? Mine were not good enough. And that's the story I'm sticking to. Choosing to see your achievements and choosing to spit on them and say that you are not good enough. Or even comparing yourself to someone who's achieved more in your mind and deciding to define yourself by your story of you not being good enough. You are only but the story you tell yourself. You are only but the story you tell yourself. So if you want to disempower every single achievement you want to do, you've already done, then good for you. That's the story you're going to be living by. And that'll be the opinion of yourself. So I ask you, what do you do with your achievements? How many of you feel like you focus so much on yourself that you live in this little self bubble and you don't connect your happiness with the energy of giving and helping others. When you do that, a huge energy opens up around you. How many of you do that? Are too focused on themselves? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your honesty, guys. And so as much as I tell you to focus, as much as I tell you to tell yourself the story you want to, or that'll make you achieve and make you empowered, there are also ways of connecting and helping others.
Mm.
My way of doing that is to provide you guys with this class. Connecting all of us together to talk about ideas that matter, ideas that change our minds, is a very, for me, way to be able to connect and help. That's how I do it. That's how I raise my standard. I ask you, how do you give back? How do you help others?